South Korean democracy and North Korean communism.
Welcome to an introduction to major topics in Korean studies. I am Professor Lian Yu, and today we are going to look at the different governments in South Korea and North Korea. Today we understand Korea to be a divided country into North and South, but it wasn't always this way. So in today's course, we're going to look at what the different political systems are in the Korean Peninsula, how the North Korean government is different from the South Korean government, as well as some of their similarities. And then we're going to look at how the political systems were established. So what was the history behind the establishment of two separate regimes in the North and in the South? And what were the historical circumstances leading up to the separation of the two regimes? We're also going to consider how these different political systems in the South and in the North could affect the possibilities for reunification in the future. There is quite a bit of discussion about possibly reuniting the two Koreas, or at least signing a peace treaty. And in order to understand what the possibilities are for these, then we need to also look at the history of the two separate regimes and how the two possibly could reconcile.
Introduction. Establishment of South Korean government Seungman Rhee. Military regime and the President Park Chung-hee, Chun Doo-won, and Roh Tae-woo. Democratization movement and election of Kim Young-sam, Kim Il-sung, Kim Jong-il, and Kim Jong-un. Conclusion. Introduction.
First, as we examine the two different governments and their political systems, in order to have a good understanding, we need to know exactly what our terms are. So we're going to first look at what democracy means and how this affects the political structure. And we're going to look at different types of democracies, or how democracies can evolve over time.
What is democracy?
The standard definition of a democracy is a government in which the supreme power is vested in the people. And then the people exercise this power, and it is given to them either directly or indirectly through a system of representation, and this usually involves periodically held free elections. The democratic South is often compared to the communist North in Korea. But we do need to understand that communism is not specifically a political system or a type of government. Communism is actually a system in which goods are owned in common and are available to everybody or divided up evenly. And in communist ideology, the idea is that there's an absence of social classes, of money, and the state. So communism does not really speak of a government or some kind of political system per se. So because democracy and communism, they speak about different systems, one being a political system and another the way that the economy or the society is structured, it's not useful to compare one-to-one democracy and communism. Instead, we're going to look at this from a slightly different perspective. If we're going to look at the political systems of North and South Korea, then we also need to examine what is the difference between democracy and its opposite, which would be a dictatorship. So in a democracy, it is the people who have the power, whether it's through directly electing or indirectly electing their leaders. In a dictatorship, the person who holds the power is only one leader or dictator. And there might be also a small group of leaders who then support the dictator, but the power is not within the people. And so these are the two different types of political systems that we're going to be considering as we examine North Korea, South Korea, and their political governments.
These are the keywords for this class: democracy, communism, dictatorship, people,